Hello and welcome to the special Auckland edition of Squirrel Radio. I am currently sitting at the end of the pier of, I'd call it a pier, but I'm American. I'm sitting at the end of Queen's Wharf in Auckland. I came up here for a little side trip, which I'll talk about a little. But I thought that since I was here and I have time to kill before the reason I came here, and I just happen to be sitting in my favorite spot, which is anywhere overlooking water. Thought I'd gab at you for a bit. Pardon me, I'm probably going to sneeze and cough. No, not sneeze. Maybe I'll cough in your ear a little bit. Still getting over this. Whatever the fuck killed me last week. I didn't even go to work. I skipped out on work for 2.5 days, I think. I'm going to pay for that Sunday. But, oh well. I needed the time off. Anyway, Auckland. All right. So this is the biggest city in New Zealand. That's what it's all about. And beware if you are a staunch member of the Social Justice League of Assholes, a.k.a. anybody who does not like people who make broad generalizations. Prepare yourself to be offended. I am about to make broad, sweeping assumptions and observations of cities. These are just my opinions. If you want to be offended, go the fuck ahead. Doesn't bother me a bit. I would definitely say that Auckland is more of a Western city than a European city. I mean, it to me it looks more like an American city than like a city in Europe, or at least Germany. That's the only European place I've really been. If I ever wanted to be reminded of America, I guess I could come here. I saw a Target, and they really like Dunkin' Donuts, apparently, which I did not expect. Dunkin' Donuts isn't even all the way across America yet, so the fact that it's in Auckland kind of took me by surprise. I don't eat donuts, so that's fine. Everybody loves Dunkin'. That's their slogan for anybody who doesn't know. Or the world runs on Dunkin'. I don't know. I think they changed their slogan a while ago. Why the fuck am I talking about that? Anyway, I definitely understand why my flatmate called this place Little Hong Kong. At one point while I was waiting to cross the road, I thought I was looking at what was an extremely realistic statue of a geisha. But then she looked at me, and I almost shit my pants. So, yeah, there's a lot of Asians. It actually looks as though people, it was like they opened the floodgates of Chinatown in New York City and just let the entire population of Chinatown leak into the rest of Lower Manhattan. It's kind of what it looks like. It's just Asians rampant. And every now and again, you'll see a Kiwi, and I don't know, there's just something endearing about that. Seeing the Kiwis that I know and love just kind of interspersed with all these Asians. It's almost like they're the tourists. It's really quite funny. And I like the fact that I look more like them than anybody else. I think if I just didn't talk, people would just assume I'm a Kiwi here, which I really like. Because technically, I am a Kiwi. My passport with my permanent resident visa should actually be going to the house either today or tomorrow. Hooray! So, let's see, is there anything else? Oh, Auckland. Very easy to navigate. I mean, luckily I have a really good sense of direction, but even if you're retarded and if you can't find your way around Auckland, you might want to get your IQ tested. There's 3 streets to center city, and if you go in one direction, you're going to hit water. So there's really good, indications of where you should be going. The skyline is very, very pleasing. It's a clean city. It's definitely not like New York. I would compare it more to Chicago or Denver. Maybe more Chicago than Denver. But as far as cities, I'm not a huge fan of cities. But as far as cities go, it is quite nice. I will say that. There was a beautiful park that I kind of walked around, and I'll put up my pictures along with this podcast that I took. People are looking at me, but that's cool. Oh man, I might sneeze. I don't have any tissues. I'm gonna have to blow my snot in my pants. That'd be awesome, right in front of everybody. Who's this bitch talking to herself, blowing snot all over her pants? That'd just be me, wouldn't it? Here's a funny fact. It took me as long to fly here from Palmerston as it did for me to get from the bus, on the bus from the airport to city center. But I think that's pretty common. It's the same way if you fly into New York City. Getting to JFK to Manhattan takes like an hour and a half. Okay, so why am I here? I actually had a list of shit to talk about. I am here for an evening with Dr. Wayne Dyer. He is a psychiatrist or a psychologist. I'm not really sure which. One prescribes meds. He's not the prescribing. He's a psychologist. Yeah, he doesn't prescribe medication. He just talks to you about what you should be doing if you want to live a happier life. I first started listening to his stuff when I broke up with Chris, and I knew I had to do some soul searching. It's that period in your late 20s that I think everybody goes through to some extent where they figure out they have no fucking clue who they are or how to make themselves happy. So in a very real way, without getting too bogged down into the details, this guy and his lectures kind of saved my life, or at least led me to know what I wanted from my life and who I was and kind of how I was going to get there. I like his approach better than other people because he's just very down to nature and not like in a hippie way. He's just very, like, if you want to be happy, this is what you need to do. If you don't, you're fucked and it's your own problem. I love it. But he says it in a way more inspiring way than that. I have more of a tough love approach to those kinds of issues. He's not like Eckhart Tolle, who wrote The Power of Now. He's kind of like he's a lofty, spiritual kind of guy, and it's kind of hard to understand how to get to the space he's talking about unless you're super spiritual and can kind of take your soul outside of your human brain. And if you don't know what I'm talking about there, then, that's probably the most critical thing I taught myself, is not to take my human emotions or my human ego too seriously. That there's something more powerful inside me. That's my soul. What came into this life and what will go out of it, instead of the shit that you acquire. Because the shit that you acquire is what makes you unhappy, and not knowing how to deal with it or reconcile those two things. Anyway, that's my little spiel. Anyway, I'm really, really looking forward to seeing him. I came up here just to see him and hear him talk. It's been a while since I've listened to any of his lectures, and I could really use some direction in my life right now. Going through some changes again, trying to work some shit out emotionally, and I could really use some of his heartfelt, and he's just a very determined, like, you have the power to do this. You can create happiness in your life. Like, you don't need anything to do it. You just have to decide to do it. So, the one lecture that I listened to from him that really turned my life around was, I don't remember how many principles it was, but it was like 9 or 10 principles of leading a balanced life. And I would just listen to that over and over and over and over and over again. Because as anybody who has an addictive personality knows, balance is not our fucking forte. Not even a little bit. We are in one extreme or the other. We're in left field or we're in right field. There is no center field for us. So balance is a constant theme that I revisit, because that is in a very elusive place for me. I can't say I'm any closer than I was. I don't know, to be honest. It's still a hard place for me. But anyway, listening to that kind of got me started. It made me realize that I am an extremist, because I didn't even know I was an extremist back then. So just realizing it's half the battle. You know, if you're on or off, you know, stop or go, you might want to listen to that. Because being balanced is very important. Anywho, so yeah, looking forward to listening to him. And, you know, I'm always happy to go and visit a new city and explore. That's why I got here this morning, so I could explore, and then I leave and go back to Palmy tomorrow. One thing I will say about Auckland is, you know, it's nice. It's sure, it's got heaps more to do than Palmy, but I don't know if it's just because of my unrelenting love for my own city. Palmy has all the charm and none of the rat race. I just love how unassuming Palmerston North is. And I don't actually think that most Kiwis would say that. I actually think it takes an American perspective to see that. I'm pretty sure that by Kiwi standards, Palmerston North would be considered a pretty pretentious little city. But I just like it. I never tire of just walking around Palmy, hanging out on the square. I did it yesterday. I just love that fucking place. And it's a lot nicer to be happy where you are than wish you were somewhere else, so I'm not going to change my opinion on that. I would not want to live in a city. I do not like it. Yeah, so that's that. I do like being on the water, but it's not too much of a draw. I mean, if you're on the north, if you're in New Zealand, period, you're never more than 2 hours away from the goddamn water. It's 2 fairly small islands, for God's sakes. If you can't find water, you're really fucked. And you really do need to get your IQ tested. Heaps of pigeons and seagulls. I got a nice picture of me feeding all the birds in Albert Park an apple. That was fun. I thought I was going to get shat all over. So that was cool. Let's look at my notes real quick. I think I wanted to discuss just something that has nothing to do with Auckland, but it's just something that I thought was interesting. I listened to this podcast called Digital Romance. I won't get into how I started listening to this, but if you're at all into kind of relationship Q&A, whether it be about sex or just kind of the ins and outs of relationship do's and don'ts, it's actually a really good podcast. I mean, take it all with a grain of salt. You know, not everybody's gonna fit in with their views, but they take a really tough approach on it, which I like, because it's like, yeah, if your needs aren't being met, then you need to leave. Like, they don't do this whole bullshit where, oh, try to work it out. It's like, no, you have your needs, the other person has theirs. If you can, if they don't align, if you cannot meet each other's needs, then you need to get the fuck out of the relationship. I know it sucks, but it's true. I learned that the hard way. So, yeah, I just I like to listen to that. But anyway, today's topic on digital romance was like how to bring a third person into the relationship. Now, of course, I assume that meant how to ask your partner if they want to have a threesome. So it's like, ooh, this will be interesting. It turns out it's more like if you have kids and you want to start dating, or, you know, how do you kind of handle that scenario? Like parents and kids and that kind of take on it. And they were staunchly against any situation where someone that has kids introduces their kids to the person they're dating before there's like a very, very serious commitment made. I mean, just seriously, like, if you're dating someone, they should not meet your kids unless they're gonna get, all right, calm the fuck down, seagulls. God damn it, I don't have anything. Oh my God, that seagull has 1 foot. That's insane. It had a stump. Seagull with a stump. Oh, that is the coolest thing I've ever seen. You look like Jaime Lannister. Oh, shit. If you didn't get that reference, that's okay. It's because I'm a big fucking fantasy dork. Anyway, Game of Thrones reference. Anyway. yeah, I just, God, that seemed a little severe to me. It's like, unless you're going to get married to the person, they should not meet your kids. And this chick she had obviously been severely emotional damaged by her mother having serial partners. You know, I grew up with 2 single parents my whole life. And I always knew their partners and never once gave it any thought whether or not. And I think it's because my parents broke up, so my parents, almost as far as I can remember, were never together. So I guess I grew up thinking that no relationship lasts a long time, maybe? I don't know. To be honest, I don't know. But my dad had a series of girlfriends. My mom had a series of boyfriends. Some of the relationships lasted a long time. Some of them didn't. I never once called anybody mom or dad. I always called them by their first names. And as far as my dad's concerned, especially in retrospect, I actually feel really bad because, having 3 little amazingly adorable girls is a real turn on for most chicks. And I think that my dad probably took advantage of that. But I happen to know at least one of those chicks kind of stayed with my dad because of us, because she fell in love with us and not my dad. And that made me feel really bad for him. And Dad, if you listen to this, I'm sorry. I know I was young and I don't know the whole of the story. I'm just saying my perspective on things. I don't know if that's what actually happened. Please, don't get pissed. I can only say what I saw from my perspective, and we were really, really, really sad when they broke up. I think my oldest sister especially. But in retrospect, I just kind of feel bad for my dad. Like, the one thing that I want is to be loved for me. I don't want someone to love me because they don't want to be alone. I would rather not be in that relationship. I'm not with someone because I don't want to be alone. I actually want to be alone. That is my natural state. If I'm with you, it's because I'm in love with you and I'm willing to put in the emotional work that it takes for me to be in a relationship, because it unfortunately does not come naturally to me. So it's really, really important to me that I know that the other person is in love with me because I'm Summer, because I'm a little bit fucked. You gotta love the crazy. And, I'm not going to be with someone just because they'd rather not be alone. I'm not a warm spot in the bed. I'm actually always freezing. I'm not there just to pet you like a dog and, screw you when you need to be screwed. Like, I'm Summer. If you're with me, it's better because you want to be with Summer. And in this situation, I kind of feel like this chick was like with my dad because she was attached to us kids, and she didn't want to call the relationship because she loved us too much. And I don't think that's just not fair. It's not fair to my father. They eventually did break up, and it sucked. And I actually, I think we tried to stay in touch. I'm not really sure. We were little girls, but I mean, I still sometimes see my dad's ex-girlfriends, and I think fondly of all of them. He's been married to my stepmom for a wicked long time, and I love her beyond everything. She's our white sheep. Most families have a black sheep. We are all black sheep. Brenda is the white sheep. She is the only sane one amongst us. Poor thing. But I mean, I don't know. I took a different perspective on that. It's seeing my parents go through their relationships has taught me. Well, I don't know if it's good or bad. It has taught me a lot about relationships, but I'm not going to get into it. I don't think it was all positive, but because most of all, it taught me that besides my dad and my stepmom, most things aren't permanent. Well, nothing's permanent in this life, but my stepmom has really, and my dad as well. They've both, like, they've had their struggles, and two people with addictive personalities. It's tough, but they've made it work for a long time, and yeah, that's the only. I'm not going to comment further. I love them both, and I want them to be happy, and I don't care what that means. I don't care if that means they're together or apart. My mom fairly recently, within the last couple of years, broke up with her boyfriend of a really long time, a guy that I had basically almost grown up with. I moved out of the house before they got together, but, I liked him. I never called him dad, and I didn't expect them to get married. It mostly just kind of made me think that my mom just wanted to be with someone and didn't really care who it was. There again, kind of back to the same story I was just talking about. And Mom, I'm sorry if that hurts, but that's just kind of what it looked like, and we've talked about that. You deserve to be happy. You don't deserve to just be with someone. You deserve to be happy. And well, thankfully, I know how to handle that situation. My niece just called me, and at least this time I was smart enough to not try to do anything. Just I'll record part 2, and I'll probably post them separately, because I don't know how to merge things in iMovie yet. Deal with it. Okay. That pretty much sums up my feelings on the whole digital romance, parents trying to date with kids perspective. The last thing I want to talk about is tattoos. Yay! So I promised myself a tattoo when I got my permanent residency, and it's going to be wicked badass, and I made an appointment to get it yesterday. I will post pictures when I have it, but basically it is a map of New Zealand. The South Island is a fantail, which is the most beautiful and charismatic and wonderful bird I have ever seen, standing on a frond, which we would call a fiddlehead. So it's like it's what I actually like to call a fernling. It's a baby fern with ferns behind it. And then the North Island is going to be the squirrel from Squirrel Radio. And behind it is going to be the stars of the Southern Cross. So that is my New Zealand tattoo. And I was actually kind of pissed because when I went in yesterday to book it, the guy started giving me shit about the whole squirrel thing. He's like, there's no squirrels in New Zealand, right? And I was like, yeah, I know. My nickname is Squirrel, and I live on the North Island. So could you please just do whatever the fuck I pay you to do? Good God. And then he still gave me shit about it. Because I told him what I wanted with, like, the stars and stuff. And he was like, well, we're not going to be able to do that. And I was like, to fuck you can't. You can do anything. You're an artist. Figure it out. So, I don't know. He called over some other kid. Told him he'd be doing the tattoo. And thankfully, that kid was way less of a prick. And was actually willing to work with me on what I wanted for a tattoo. Good God. But there's a reason I'm talking about my tattoo. The first tattoo I ever got, I think I've mentioned this before. Oh yeah, I mentioned my last one. Is a tattoo that my friend designed, and it says Orgy. You can't really tell that it says Orgy, but it does, because they were my favorite band when I was in high school. That tattoo is on my right shoulder. And then, I don't know how many years later, but I ended up getting a tattoo, like, on the back of my neck, and my left shoulder's been empty for a long, long time. So that's where this one's going to go, because I feel a little bit out of balance. There's that word again. Balancing out my tattoos, as if that matters. I also wanted in a place where I could get it big enough to kind of do the fantail and the squirrel justice as far as detail goes. But I bring up Orgy because I couldn't have known when I brought it up in last week's podcast that holy shit, Orgy made a new CD. Yeah, I found out, I don't know when I found out, like maybe it was Monday? I don't know. Maybe it was, I don't remember. Anyway, they're not all the original members, but the lead singer is still the same, and they still wear makeup, and are covered in tattoos, and are the most delicious looking men I've ever seen in my life. Okay, anyway, enough about that. Whew. Their music sounds the same as it ever has, which is awesome. I always said that they were a band kind of before their time, because they do an electronica kind of thing that just wasn't popular back when they were first around. But anyway, their new album is awesome. It's called Sick Talk. You can get it for a very cheap $5.99 on the iTunes. So if you're at all into electronica, highly, highly, highly recommended. Love that band. Yeah. You know, one of the shittiest things about going to a city is you always want to treat yourself to, like, the local fare, you know? But in true summer fashion, I brought along a can of soup that at some point I will just open and eat and not even heat up, because I am really fucking cheap. I will allow myself to go get dinner somewhere, but I have a very strict $60 budget for my I think I'm here for like 26 hours, and I spent half of that on a bus fare. So I have $30. I'm going to treat myself to dinner tonight. And I want to buy my friends some souvenirs, because that is also what I do. I spend my money on other people because that makes me happy. The reason I'm saving is because my mommy is coming over for Christmas, and we're going to go take a trip of the South Island, and it's going to be amazing. It's going to be a Christmas present for both of us. Unfortunately, I feel really bad for my mom. She's literally not getting a Christmas this year because she leaves the States on the 24th and lands in Dunedin on the 26th. She actually loses Christmas Day on the plane because she's going to cross the international date line. But I'm kind of hoping that they do something on the plane for everybody, like a little Christmas dinner. I think they will. Air New Zealand is really, really good about that stuff. Unfortunately, my mom's probably going to be so crazed having a nicotine fit that she's not even going to notice. It's going to take a lot of Benadryl to knock her out. Oh, but I'm really excited about it. Because, yeah, I can't wait to see my mom. So that's why I'm being wicked cheap. Well, I'm cheap in general, but, you know, that's just how I travel. I always bring enough food to eat so I don't have to eat out, even though all the places look incredible. I haven't really figured out what I want for dinner. Probably Middle Eastern food. Okay, I am seriously fucking rambling at this point. And I think I've pretty thoroughly freaked out everyone that's sitting on this wharf. So yeah, I'm going to venture back into little Hong Kong. Really is it's a nice city. I mean, as far as cities go, oh boy, I'm about to piss off some Kiwis. I like it better than Wellington, just as far as looks go. Okay, I'm talking about aesthetics here, people. Auckland is, I don't know, it looks cleaner. Maybe it's just, I didn't see a ton of Wellington, okay, but what I saw of it, I didn't like the way it was kind of set out, and it looked just kind of, I don't know. It just seemed more cluttered. I mean, all cities are cluttered. Whatever. I don't need to explain myself. I like Auckland better than Wellington. Okay, there, I said it. If it pisses you off, fucking deal with it. I say heaps of shit that pisses tons of people off, so. I'll walk around some more. What time is it? Maybe I'll eat my can of soup soon. Yeah, I gotta call my niece back anyway. Alright, I'll post this as a 2-parter unless I can figure out how to merge audio tracks. Alright, hope you like this edition. Fat Chronicles to be continued. I don't know if I get to recording it this weekend. I do. If not, you're going to have to wait. All 3 of my subscribers will anxiously await my next podcast. Alright. Squirrel Radio over and out.